Good afternoon. It is April 26th, 3 p.m., and we're here for the Public Works and Finance Committee meeting. It's pretty fun. Almost all of us are here. All of the commission members are in fact, committee members are in fact here in person. And we also have all the other city council people and the mayor here participating either virtually or in person. So let's see if we get started here. We've got a couple of agenda items. Approval of the Finance Committee meetings. Any problem with them? Any suggestions?
Look good.
They're approved. The second issue is B&BC LLC developer participation request, and Bill Belanoff is going to talk about that for us.
Good afternoon. Just give me a moment here. I'll get my presentation up. Tyler, could you grab that light?
Got it.
Lower right.
There you go. Okay, thank you and good afternoon. So I thought I'd start off with a little bit of a history on the city's West Pluce River Drive property. The property was, let me move this little screen out of the way. So as the council may recall, after the Hamilton bequest, the city formed a dream team to look at potential youth facilities and recreational programming needs across the community. And one of the items that was identified as a significant community need at that time was a need for additional athletic playfields within town. To that effort, in 2002, the city purchased a 44-acre property located on West Pluce River Drive, just kind of south, slightly east of the Arboretum. The city then spent about 9 years, really from about 2002 to 2011, working on the development of a master plan for the development of that property. I'll kind of go through this in a little bit of detail. This is the property in question that is the city's property. So again, 44-acre property, has fairly significant frontage on Pluce River Drive, which is a roadway just on the north edge of the property. It extends south and kind of has a little bit of like an Idaho with the panhandle there on the west side of the property. The South Fork of the Pluce River runs through it. It kind of comes through the north edge. And a lot of people may be familiar with the cyclocross track that's currently developed on the property. And sometimes people think that's the extent of the entire property, and it is not. That's a very small portion of the property on the north side of the river. The bulk of the property actually sits on the south side of the South Fork and is a fairly large and flat area. The property was selected for ball field development because it is large and flat, which we don't have a lot of flat terrain in the city. It also was along a roadway designated as being a minor arterial on West Pluce River Drive for access and circulation. And then the South Fork going through the property is actually a bonus for natural areas, passive recreation, but also playfields and floodplains tend to be good partners in use and allows that floodplain to continue its natural function. So this presentation was provided in July and then again came back to the council in April of 2011. It kind of goes through the final development project proposal that was presented to the council at that time. So this was the layout of the facility. We had 2 Babe Ruth fields, 2 Cal Ripken baseball fields, and then 3 soccer, lacrosse, or football, kind of a multi-purpose facilities. Had riparian areas and pathways, a passive park area, which was really designated as being the property north of the river was going to be the passive park area. And then 2 parking lots. I think we had about 310 parking spaces for the full complex, a small satellite parking lot to be closer to this outfield, and then a larger parking lot located on the east side of the property. Access to the fields was primarily coming off of Pluce River Drive with the extension of Conestoga. And that road was going to be kind of extended to the end of the city's property in recognition that as properties develop, utilities and access is provided to adjacent properties so the city can grow in a logical and orderly fashion. The total project cost at that point in time was estimated just about $7.7 million. So it was a fairly large project, and each of these components was identified with a cost to it. The Conestoga Road extension was $1.8 million. We had our frontage improvements on Pluce River Drive in front of the park property at $527,000. The council also wanted to do off-site improvements from the playfields out to US 95 South Main to accommodate additional traffic that would be happening on that section of the roadway. That was estimated at $993,000 at that time. And then another element was a desire to use effluent from the wastewater treatment plant, or the reclamation facility, to irrigate the playfields. And there was additional conveyance capacity that needed to be extended through the Arboretum and golf course in order to make that feasible, and that was estimated at about $1.6 million. And again, at this point in time, it was envisioned that the sewer fund may pay for that effluent system because it would be part of our land application to meet our temperature standard of the facility. The ball fields themselves were estimated at $2.5 million for the actual field construction, and then the passive park located north in the pathway on the north side of the river there was estimated at $210,000. So again, about $7.7 million total project cost. And then we kind of identified, so it's just highlighted, it's a little hard to see, but this is highlighting the different components. So this was the Conestoga extension, the $1.8 million, the frontage improvements along the park property at the $527,000, the full improvements out from the eastern boundary out to US 95 South Main, which was the 900 some odd thousand, can't see it underneath the screen there. And then that effluent line coming down through the Arboretum golf course at the $1.6 million. Playfield development, again, $2.5 million, and the passive park on the north side of the river is $210,000. The council has discussed various options for funding development of the facilities. Obviously, with that large of expense, the Hamilton Fund did not have adequate funding to pay for all of the costs of the development. And the council discussed a general obligation bond, sewer fund, funding the effluent, any type of other donations or grants that the city might be able to pull together to fund the project, and discussed really what would that tax burden look like if the city were to issue a GO bond at that point in time. And assuming the effluent was paid out of the sewer fund, at that point in time, it was estimated that a $200,000 home would see about a $50 per year tax increase to fund that general obligation bond. In 2011, the city council ultimately decided, it was shortly after the recession that peaked here in 2008, so we weren't too far after that, decided it was cost prohibitive and did not feel that a bond election for a general obligation bond was going to be successful. And so the council chose not to proceed with the project at that time, and directed staff to begin renegotiations with the school district on the Joseph Street property, with the hope of having a more cost-effective opportunity to provide playfields to the community. That was successful. We worked with the school district closely for several years through that development, and that project was completed in 2016. But the council then recognized that the smaller school district property was not going to meet the long-term community needs for playfields if we look into the future for the community, and retain Inclusive River Drive property for that future use and future development. On April 8th of this year, the city received a request from BBC LLC requesting financial participation with Conestoga Extension and accompanying bridge construction. So BBC LLC owns the 232 acres to the south of this property, of the city's ball field property. They certainly are looking for access to help facilitate their future development, but felt that it would be a partnership between the city and them because there was mutual benefits to both parties to share in the cost of that roadway extension and construction. The current estimate for roadway, bridge, and the attendant utilities, so that would include water and sanitary sewer service, so that the playfields could be irrigated, that a restroom could be constructed on the property and have sanitary sewer service, is estimated at just about $2.37 million for construction. The request did not specifically state what level of participation, but in discussions, it was requested that the city would share equally in half in the expenses of those improvements. If we were to separate those by fund, we would be looking at about $47,000 from the sewer fund for sewer improvements, $90,000 from the water fund, and about $941,000 for the street fund. And I note as being street fund because it's related to roadway construction, but what we'd be looking is doing some cost sharing between the street fund as well as the Parks and Recreation Capital Construction Fund. The council has previously recognized its obligation to extend Conestoga through the property, so this is an opportunity to do so at a reduced cost, partnering with the owner to the south. And that extension and that access is really, it is a fundamental element for our future development of the playfields for those facilities. We have examined available street capital funding, and we do have a number of large projects that will be happening this summer. So we have the 3rd Street LSIP project, the pedestrian safety project from Jackson all the way out to Llewellyn Street. We have the 6th Street Bridge replacement that we're hoping to get final approval from EDA on the grant that we received for that project that hopefully will go to construction this year. And we also are going to be having Mountain View proceed to construction this year, 3 years in advance of when it was programmed. So we do have a large number of projects underway for this season. Even after those projects, we have identified that with another $526,000 of allocation, the city would be able to fund all those planned projects, to fund the requested participation, as well as all of our other projects we currently have identified on the city's capital improvement plan moving forward. Now, staff would recommend that because both this project or the development of the city's playfield property in the future will have increased vehicular traffic on Palouse River Drive, that any financial contribution be conditioned upon BBC LLC's improvement of West Palouse River Drive from the intersection of Conestoga out to the highway. To ensure that that roadway can be widened to a minimum width of approximately 34 feet with curbing and sidewalk on the south side of the roadway. Again, that'll help address and mitigate impacts of the city's future development of the ball field property, as well as any residential development that may happen to the south of the city's property. Staff would recommend that if the council chose to participate, that it be limited to no more than 50% of the actual cost of construction, not to exceed a total amount of $1,078,210, and that would not be dispersed until the completion and acceptance of the Conestoga extension, the bridge, and the improvements of West Palouse River Drive. If council wishes to proceed with the participation, staff would then prepare a development agreement and bring it back for the council's consideration. With that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions the council might have.
Any questions, Ann? Or Art?
Yeah, on your number 1 point back on the proposal from way back when, did the Conestoga improvement include the bridge?
Yes.
Okay. Just for comparison's sake.
Yes, yeah.
So, also, is the parkland dedication on the part of the developer included in all of this, or is it premature to be speculating?
So
on
this
that
is
part?
independent of any future land use entitlement approval that the council will be considering. That is something that will be coming, but today's discussion really is related to, whether the city wishes to share and participate in the costs of the road construction across the city's playfield property. Those other items will be discussed at a future point when that matters before the council.
Yep. So, just a comment, this is why we have capital accumulation, so we can jump if we want to, if there is an opportunity like this to participate. And having a developer willing to do off-site improvements, the improvement of West Palouse River Drive from the property corner out to US 95 is very beneficial, because getting the city stuck with another deficient county road that's going to see traffic like Mountain View that we've been working on for 30 years to try to bring up to snuff, and getting it done now, I think, is a huge benefit to the city. And plus, getting participation to extend Conestoga across, I think it's a really nice, beneficial partnership, and very happy to hear the developer is willing to go with us on it.
And we are recommending that those improvements be focused on the south side of the roadway, because that side is largely fully developed. There are portions on the north side of the roadway that are currently vacant and being currently proposed for development that will fill in some of those gaps.
Yep.
So we do think the greatest benefit is to focus on that south side at this time.
Yep.
Ann?
Yeah, I actually did have a question. So am I understanding the sequencing correctly, that they'll finish, BBC LLC finishes the extension, the bridge, and certain improvements, then we accept, and then we would move forward with bidding out the rest of the project?
For the playfields themselves,
I'm just reading the last little bit of that first paragraph.
so we would want the developer to complete the bridge and roadway construction and improvement and frontage improvements on Palouse River Drive before we disperse our reimbursement.
Gotcha, because it's a
Yeah.
reimbursement.
So it's all completed, yes.
Thank you, that makes sense.
Yep.
That was it for me.
I kind of have to agree with Art on this one, because it seems to me that we're going to have to do it anyways, and now that we can get half of it paid for by a developer, it seems to me it's beneficial to the city. Okay, Would we do it? I don't think
Yeah.
this goes on the consent agreement, it needs to get put on.
Correct. This
the
will need to be discussed by the full council. It would just be a recommendation from this committee to recommend approval of the developer participation request with staff's recommendations to the full council.
I support recommendation of approval.
So do I.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will stop my share and get out of the way. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, acceptance of the South View Extension right-of-way dedication.
All right, hopefully everybody can see that, who is tuned in outside of the chambers. Good afternoon. My name is Bob Bouvel. I'm here to talk to you about the Southview Extension right-of-way dedication. So just a little bit of background on what I'm talking about. This is a vicinity map showing the rough area of the right-of-way that we're discussing. So this is the intersection of US 95 and Steiner, US 95 and Palouse River Drive. And this is Alice Street, and this is the portion of Southview that got built a couple summers ago. If the committee remembers back in 2009, the lot division was approved by City Council June 17th. Thompson Development LLC wanted to do a lot division, carve out 3 lots on that parcel, and they needed to extend Southview in order to do that development. In order to do that, to create those lots and make them buildable lots, those lots had to abut public right-of-way. And so they proposed that the development extend the Southview Avenue by approximately 128 feet.
I
And this,
think most of you probably caught that, but it's 2019 was when the committee approved that, not 2009. I don't think anybody has that kind
sorry.
of memory on this committee.
Yeah.
right, 2019, sorry, I misspoke. So this is this is the record of survey that was submitted to kind of describe what that lot division looked like, and the right-of-way dedication is this portion right here that is labeled as a right-of-way dedication. So the development was built this summer. All the improvements have been completed, and we're kind of in the phase where we're cleaning up all the paperwork and of accepting those improvements and having those lots built on. And this is part of what we need to do in order to wrap this up. So staff is going to go ahead and recommend acceptance of the right-of-way dedication extending Southview, or that's staff's recommendation.
All right,
Just a couple questions, not to befuddle the development, but is Alice programmed to extend further south, or is that going to be the terminus at the intersection of Southview?
At this point, it's going to be the terminus. The Indian Hills 9th addition was built prior to this, and I wish I could zoom in a little bit more, but that subdivision kind of built the Southview Alice Street intersection, and these lots here were part of that
Okay, so they're built on the
Subdivision.
west side through other arrangements.
Yeah, so everything on the west was built by a previous developer. This Thompson development just built those 3 lots on the east side of Alice.
So likely Alice isn't going to need to be extended.
No, and part of the reason for that is other, not, yeah, I can't move it over. Further north-south roads, I think Pinecone is one of them, is kind of slated to come down and intersect with Palouse River Drive. And in an effort to kind of limit the amount of intersections that we have with Palouse River Drive, at the time, staff agreed with terminating Alice at Southview.
So that resulted in the necessity for having the flagpole to get up onto Southview to front on the public road.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't look like it's terribly long, it's maybe 70 feet or something. How long is that flagpole?
The flagpole, the pole portion of it, or the peninsula portion of it, is about 75 feet, between 85 and 75 feet long.
Okay, so that gets under the fire department's requirements.
Right, and those were all requirements that were done, gone through back in 2019.
Okay, those were mine.
I have no questions either. Do we recommend the acceptance of the right-of-way dedication extending Southview Avenue?
Yeah, I do.
Consent agenda?
Yep.
Consent agenda. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay. The fourth issue, the Slurry Seal, 2021 bid results and contract award.
Hello, my name is Nathan Sir. I'm with the Community Planning and Design Division, and I will be presenting on the Slurry Seal bid results. So we published this advertisement for bid back in April 2nd. And just a little background, we've been doing the Slurry Seal for about 10 years now. And what we have found is it's a mixture of fine aggregate and asphalt, and it provides a very good wearing surface. So the rock provides a wearing surface against studded snow tires and things like that. And the asphalt provides sort of reseals some of the micro cracks that form. So we typically use this treatment on roads that are between maybe 7 and 12 years old in order to extend their life. And that's part of the pavement preservation plan that's going on for a decade now. We found that it's an extremely inexpensive way to extend the life and to maintain the condition of the roadway and the investment from the public. So this year we proposed a bid of approximately 116,000 square yards at various different streets and locations throughout the city that were identified in the condition assessment. And the engineer's estimate for this project was $197,313.90. And then when we opened the bid, we received 4 bids, and the lowest was from Blackline Incorporated for $1.79 a square yard, or a total price of $207,759.93. And this is within the budget for this project. So the staff recommendation is going to be to recommend acceptance of the low bid from Blackline and award the contract in the amount of $207,759.93, and authorize approval for construction change orders in an amount not to exceed 10%. This was a very simple, so I didn't do a slide on this one, but are there any questions I could answer?
I have no questions.
Nope, we kind of had this program, didn't we, Tyler?
Yeah, this has been a very successful program for the city. As Nate mentioned, it's part of our pavement management program that was initiated back in 2010, where we really shift our focus into keeping our good pavements in good conditions. The numbers tend to show that for every dollar we spend on the front end of the life of the pavement, we save about $7 on the back end of the life. So this is really a no-brainer when it comes to the use of our limited transportation funds. And so this is, like Nate said, this is our first line of defense. This is our most inexpensive and effective treatment that we try and get on a lot of our streets. And so, yeah, we were happy. Blackline's a company we've worked with in the past. We've had good success with them. And so we're pleased to see the bids come in where they did.
Recommend acceptance?
I do.
Consent agenda?
Yep.
And last for today's meeting, Paradise Pathway Lighting Project, 2021, bid results and contract award.
And you've got me for that as well, so I'll just stick around. So the Paradise Pathway Lighting Project is, the history of it. Back in 2018, the city installed the pedestrian underpass that went under the Troy Highway and helped provide a really long, continuous east-west corridor that connected the fairgrounds all the way to the university and further. So this proposed lighting project, is a continuation of that. So the proposal is to light the pathway extending from south from the underpass all the way to Highway 95. It's about 3,000 feet of pathway, and it would be lit with a combination of high-efficiency LED bollards and overhead lights. So the engineer's estimate for this project was $178,035.40. And unfortunately, when we opened the bids, we only had a single bid, and the bid was $358,458. So over twice what the engineer's estimate was anticipated for this project. And anytime we see any kind of such a large disparity between what we anticipate the project to cost and what the contractors bid, we call around and ask questions to determine what the difference was. And in this case, the large difference was the installation of the 1-inch conduit, which is, other than the lighting, it's the bulk of the project. It runs through the entire 3,000-foot length. And typically, to install a 1-inch conduit, we see on the high end pricing of approximately $15, maybe $18 a linear foot. And in this case, the bid price for that same conduit was over $55 a linear foot. So essentially, talking to the contractor, they just perceived a lot of risk with the installation of the conduit between tree roots and railroad ballast, and just given the condition of that. So the next steps then are to examine a way that we can potentially provide that pathway, maybe with a more specialized contractor, or look at some city staff time to take that expensive portion out. Because if you look at the bid, of that $358,000, only approximately $136,000 of it is for the electrical portion of it. So we believe if we can get that pathway installed for approximately $65,000, we can stay within our $200,000 budget and continue to, attempt to build this project at a later date. But for the meantime, with the current bid that we were given, the staff recommendation is that we reject all bids, and we will look to rebid at a later date when the bidding climate is a little more favorable and after we've made some of those changes that I mentioned. Are there any questions on this?
I have a couple questions. I'm curious, do you think this impacted the number of bids as well? Because one is, that's so low.
It's hard to tell when we only get one bid. If we have more than one bid, we can kind of compare and see where we are. But with only one bid to compare against, it gets difficult. So I'm not sure. We reached out to multiple contractors in the area. Several of them expressed interest. And then when it came down to time to submit bids, we only received a single one. So, I believe that, the perceived complexity of it is a problem. That's been what's stated from everybody that was concerned about it. But I think that, something like a company that does directional drilling or using some staff time to provide that pathway would be a really good investment and can bring the total overall cost down significantly. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you. And just recognizing this is a big barrier, I'm just excited to see it being addressed to some degree. People ask me about it all the time. It was a constant topic on the Pathways Committee or Commission, and everybody from people who live over there to ASUI. So that's exciting to see something, at least.
Yeah, well, we're not giving up on
Yeah.
it. We'll figure out a way.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up and say, yeah, it is disappointing because that would have been a nice amenity, but 2 times projected cost is way over. Other projects come in a little over, okay, we can handle that, but, so staff, Nate, keep working it and see what you can come up with, but I would say reject the bid and let's go back to the drawing board.
I agree. I also think that the commitment to continue working on it and whether dividing out into sections or whatever is important, because I think the safety of this project is important. So. do we-
Absolutely.
I had
And
one more question. I know one of the biggest concerns, because it's right up, it abuts housing, is that the spillover effect for the people that live there. Was there a technical solution proposed to that for moving forward with this project?
there's kind of 2 ways that we do it with these type of lighting systems is we use either shields. I mean, everything's full cut off, but we also use directional shields that can help basically block the light in a certain direction. So we try to get as little spillover as possible. But, there is, with the bollards particularly, there is a little bit of area light that is created. The bollards, we don't anticipate being a significant problem because of how low they are to the ground. They're not, 25 feet tall like the overhead lighting. So we typically use that shielding mostly on the overhead lighting. But yes, we would be absolutely considering that because we don't want to be blaring in someone's bedroom window.
Thank you.
Consent agenda? Yeah, everybody agrees, consent agenda. Okay,
Thank
are there
you.
any reports from the staff, or
No, we have no additional reports.
move to adjourn?
Let's go.
Let's go.